What's up, all my fight fans? Today, I am going to give you guys a three-part episode based on one of my favorite topics to talk about. And it's a lot of people's favorite topic because a lot of people do ask about this. Who do we consider the greatest UFC fighter of all time? Now, in these episodes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to name the three candidates. I am going to break down what a fighter needs in order to be considered the greatest of all time. And I am going to break down whether that fighter is any of those within those categories. And I am going to choose who I feel, me personally feel, is the greatest UFC fighter of all time. So, with that said, let's just go in first into who these candidates are. Now, these candidates are to me the obvious choice. My own personal opinion is Jon Jones, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and George St. Pierre. Those are the three most popular names that do go on everybody's list. They're on top of everybody's list. And some people actually have them all together on one list, just not in that order. So, nevertheless, now, what I feel a fighter needs to be considered the greatest of all time are a few categories. One, were they a dominant fighter? Did they dominate their fights? Did they just sometimes, it doesn't have to be all the time, but at times, did they steamroll? Did they actually show how great they are? Or did they play it safe and, did whatever they could to make sure they did not get hurt and just win? They didn't care about dominating their fighter. They didn't care about, they literally almost at times left it to the judges. That's one. Another one is, did they ever have their will tested? Did they ever have their skills tested? Meaning, were they ever in a dogfight? Were they ever challenged inside the octagon where they might have lost? Where maybe people even feel like they lost. But because of their skills, because of their ability, because of the way they were as a fighter, they were able to survive and still come back from adversity, come back from being knocked down or almost submitted or almost knocked out, whatever the case may be, almost stopped. They still were able to survive and still show how great they are. That's another one. Three is by far a popular one. Were they ever on steroids? Yes, that's definitely another one. Did this UFC fighter, or any fighter for that matter, ever decide to take any kind of performance enhancers to help them be great, or to give them a little boost? Whatever they did it for, whatever it is, did they ever do this? That's another one. Another one I like to add on there is, and this is kind of a controversial one, but please let me explain. Did they ever lose? Now, what I mean by that is, I've seen some fighters who are so determined to stay undefeated, so determined to keep that zero record. And you know what? Let me stand corrected real quick. Not only did that fighter ever lose, but did they ever lose their championship? That's another one. But please, let me explain. Did they ever lose their championship, or did they ever lose their oath? So many fighters are so stuck on keeping that zero and, of course, keeping their belt. There's a lot of perks that comes with being a champion, so there's a obviously explanation why they want to keep their belt. But nonetheless, when they lose, it's like some of these fighters are never quite the same. Some of these fighters cannot even regain that belt back, which is extremely difficult thing to do. Some actually have been doing it a little bit more, but still, we've seen champions out there with one or two title defenses, and as soon as they lose, it's like they fall. It's like they just all of a sudden fell from being this dominant champion that they felt they were, this dominant fighter that they felt they were, and they barely can get a victory in. They are just no longer that same fighter that we once saw them. Whether they lost their belt or whether they lost their when they have a loss on the record. It feels like that's who they felt they were. That they were this undefeated fighter, that they were this dominant champion, and without now having the belt and without having that O on their record, it's almost like they don't feel like that's who they are anymore. And now it's almost like they're doing their best to find themselves. So that's another one. How many times did they defend their belt? There's another one. You know, how many times was this a fighter who just did it once? The great Matt Hughes always said that you are not a champion or can't be considered a champion unless you defend your belt. Did you just so happen to win it and that was it? Or did you stay on for quite some time and, you know, defended your belt multiple times? And the last one, but not least, but definitely I feel very important, is were you able to challenge yourself? Possibly going up in weight, different division. Were you able to challenge yourself and become this dominant fighter that you once were in your own division, but in another division? Possibly even capturing another belt. That's another one. So, and then of course, at the end of these parts that I do have, I will be naming my favorite or my honest answer, my honest opinion on who is the greatest UFC fighter of all time. So please, guys, check out these episodes. Check out what I got to say about each and individual fighter and what I feel like they did or did not do, could have done better, etc., etc. Please check out these episodes when I give them to you. Again, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about my breakdown on what a fighter needs to be considered the greatest of all time. And let me know what you think of my choices. Maybe I missed somebody. Maybe I should have added somebody. Or maybe I have good selections. Please let me know. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button. And I'll see you guys soon.